The Ducks did not talk with their helmet, although they kind of did.
They tried.
They tried to talk with their helmet, but then they ran out of gas.
Yeah, it's just tough when you're that thin already. Your margin for error, and then Shellstad goes down, and you're like, hell. But to be up by 4 with, was it 50-ish, 56?
30.
Was it 30?
Yeah, they were up 4 with the ball.
Yeah,
and about 30 seconds left.
I thought it was like 50, but
no, that's when Cousinard missed the. He missed a floater.
Yeah.
And then eventually Dante got fouled, and that was the one where
you just can't inbound that ball.
That's a weird one. I don't know why. Is it? Look, I'm not one to second guess Dana Altman, but to second guess Dana Altman, should Dante have even been on the court there if you don't want him to be fouled?
Well, and I was listening to some of his comments afterwards, and he did kind of address that and say that it was.
What did he say?
That basically it was a young mistake, and that having done it again, you wouldn't have a freshman inbounding, and I don't think he. I don't.
So in other words, the idea was, hey, let's get an experienced inbounder and don't pass it to N'Faly.
Yes. You can't inbound it to the guy that's shooting whatever it is, 58%.
I have some audio from Altman here about taking blame. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
That hurt a little bit with ball handling. Jermaine had to do even more, and we made some critical mistakes. Up 4, you can't foul in transition and give them 2 free throws, and and then Dante just missed a big free throw, but. God dang, what do you think? And that's my fault. I had a freshman throwing the ball in, and I'm as much to blame as anybody. I made some coaching mistakes, and I might have to live with that because those 2 guys, everybody talks about the last couple of weeks like that's the only time those 2 guys played. I mean, they've been playing their tails off all year. We've been riding them all year.
Did he say, God dang, what a thing, or something like that?
I think he gave us
I think he did.
Yeah.
I love that. Can we get that as a drop?
Sure, we can do that.
We don't have any Dana Altman.
No, we don't, and we should. And should he be on the floor? Look, you don't have any players. Like you only got when he went down. Like you got 7 guys. So I don't know where you go. You just to have, and I feel bad for the freshman, but you got a freshman inbounding, and the one guy you can't throw the ball to is a sub 60% free throw shooter. That's a killer. And whoops,
misfire.
What misfire? It's just in a season that wasn't. It wasn't supposed to be, with all the injuries that you had, to have the run in the Pac-12 tournament, to even get in this thing, to win in dominant fashion in the first round, and then you had him. You had Creighton. You had him beat. And that's one that you're not going to look back and say that this season was a failure or anything like that, because it just wasn't. You overcame a lot, but that one will sting. And for a guy like N'Faly Dante that had such a good career here, that stuck around, who was so good and will go down as an Oregon legend, to have that be the final chapter in your book, that I feel terrible for that young man, because he was freaking awesome. You find me over the last month 2 guys that have carried a team more so than what Cousinard and N'Faly Dante did. And even in the tournament, Cousinard didn't play that well. It really was just Dante that carried him throughout that.
Well, they said Cousinard had the most points through his first 2 NCAA tournament games in Pac-12 history. Did you see that?
Yes.
I think it was like the other 2 guys were Lou Alcindor, you remember him?
Yeah, he was pretty good.
And Reggie Miller. That's the company he was in.
Yep.
I mean, so Cousinard and he hit the huge 3 to tie it in overtime. I mean, I don't know, man. I thought he was awesome. He played 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And N'Faly Dante played 48 minutes.
Yep.
And they
didn't have anyone else.
They had 13 points from anyone other than those 2.
Yep.
And 0 off the bench. And by the way, in overtime, they went 0 for 7.
Yeah.
They just flat.
You ran out.
They just flat lost their legs.
And again, Shellstad going out, because he was just their third option. And when he went down with, what is it, the foot or whatever, foot, ankle.
I think knee, maybe?
Was it knee? When he went down.
Either way, he had 37 at the time,
Yeah.
so he was killing it.
That's just, it's just eventually there's too much bleeding, and you can't put a bandage.
Well, you gotta
over
close it out in reg, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Altman was talking about.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I forgot too in there. So they were up 4 with 30 seconds left. Cousinard had that little floater that he missed, and then they fouled him and put him on the line. Yeah. To get within 2, and that's when they inbounded to Dante. He misses the free throw, and then you got to hand it to Shireman. He hit that. That was a pretty sweet step back to tie it in.
Guy hadn't done crap like in an extended period of time, and then his big goofy ass goes out there and hits that step back.
It was a nice shot.
Yeah.
So
as what somewhere Bill Shanley, right?
What are you gonna do?
You gotta make your free throws.
They probably don't get by Tennessee anyway.
No, probably not.
You know,
it would have been a hell of a thing to see them make that run into the Sweet 16 against his former team. Look, and I know not everyone likes Oregon, and I totally get that. I don't know why. I find the brush and I find Oregon basketball. I find them easier to root for. I think if you're not a Duck fan, and Buck, you're a Duck homer honk loser.
Hey, thank you.
Yikes.
Yeah. Am I wrong in that if you're not an Oregon football fan, I think it's hard to root for Oregon. I think there's a lot to not like about Oregon football. If you're not from the state, if you're not affiliated with that program, I think it's very easy to look at Phil's guys and not like it. Even their head coach now.
Yeah, I think it's one of two things. I think it's kind of polarized. I think there's a random kind of younger generation that if you didn't have a team and you saw all the stuff Nike was doing with Oregon, you might think that was cool and have latched onto them for that reason. But if you're a fan of any other team, you don't like them for all those reasons. All the flash and the 0 national titles to show for it and everything like that.
I find the basketball team to be a little more. I find it to be a little more likable.
They're a little more lunch pail.
A little bit, yeah.
That's what Dana Altman.
Yeah.
He's kind of got that vibe.
Midwestern girl dad.
Yeah, he just is like all business.
We don't get a lot of the. You talk with your helmet. Yeah, it's just
they're not that flashy.
No. And for all of the big 5-star, the big recruits, and I know Oregon gets their fair share in basketball too, but. Doesn't it feel like most of the kids that go on to be kind of the driving force behind their programs, it's not the Mookie Cooks, it's not the
guys who stay.
Right, it's guys that stick around that largely, when they make these runs, they're not they're not these one and done guys.
No, a lot of junior senior guys who have helped to make deep
and
runs.
Even Cousinard, he's a 5-year guy, right?
Yep.
He's a super senior from South Carolina.
Well,
Which, by the way, I saw that Michi kid from South Carolina. He's in the transfer portal. So come on, go to South Carolina, go again.
They're fighting for clicks. We're fighting for wins.
Bring that kid over.
Well, there are 2 runs with Ernie Kent to the Elite 8. Well, 1 to the Final Four, 1 to the Elite 8. I think, right? Yeah, because they made it to the Final Four with Aaron Brooks and those guys.
Yeah.
Those guys have been there a while.
Yeah.
And then the first one was Ridnour and Fred Jones and Jackson. Those guys were there for a while.
I think Ernie only got to the Elite 8. I don't think he got Final Four.
I thought he made a Final Four.
Well, no, it was Dana that got
Yeah,
to
it was Dana that got to the Final Four.
That was Aaron Brooks and Dylan, or I mean...
it was Dylan Brooks, Jordan Bell.
Yes. Those
not
guys.
Aaron Brooks. Aaron Brooks was long before that.
But Aaron Brooks did make, I believe, the Elite 8
with Ernie Kent.
With Ernie, yeah.
Yeah, and also a group that stayed.
Did Ernie never make a Final Four?
Because those
2
were a lot of the guys with like Malik Hairston who wanted to do a one and done. That was the group. Brooks was still there, but you had like Bryce Taylor, you had Marty Lunan, you had Tawan Porter as part of that group.
Yeah. The Marty Lunan days.
Hell yeah.
With that big Australian kid.
Ian Crosswhite.
Ah, yeah, that's who it was. I was like, what was that guy?
They did have their share of white stiffs.
I enjoy when you get the international white
Mitch
stiff.
Platt. Anyone?
College basketball is about the awkward white stiff.
For sure. And
Big
there
fan.
are players that... There was one guy at Kansas. I don't know if you guys will remember this guy. I think he got some time in the NBA. We absolutely hated him. He was such a bitch. His name was Eric Chenoweth.
I remember Chenoweth.
Do you remember him?
I do remember him.
Oh my God, Kansas fans and him had such a love-hate relationship. It was really unbelievable. But there's always that and they go down in history. Like you'll never forget them.
Yeah.
Ostertag.
Yeah. They remember the
Scott Pollard.
Oh God, Scott Pollard, the Cherokee Parkses of the world.
Yep.
Remember what was that kid from Georgia Tech that he was Australian
Shencher.
kid? Yeah, Shencher.
Former Blazer
Luke
great.
Shencher.
Yes. And now they're giving us Zach Edey, 2-time Big Ten Player of the Year, 1-time National Player of the Year. And does anyone, and I mean anyone, think that guy is going to be anything other than a 3-year backup in the NBA and then playing overseas somewhere?
I'll be honest with you, I've seen him play very rarely.
They can't move.
He's just
He's like Frankenstein. He is going to be somewhere he will be teammates with Drew Timme. He will be playing like in the Israeli league, forming the most dominant. I think he was in the G League for a while.
Is he filling it up out there in the G League?
Oh boy.
That guy was great.
I loved the people that were like, did you see his footwork? That guy's going to be fine in the NBA. No, he's not. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you kind of got to be able to move in today's NBA.
He's currently playing, and this is wonderful, he's currently playing for the Wisconsin Herd.
Yes! What's he averaging?
I don't know, but he's probably looking for some butter hogs.
I'll bet you
I bet those butter hogs love him.
I guarantee that Drew Timme's dance card is quite full. He's sweet talking some big brunette on a Friday night, guaranteed.